Greetings dear students, welcome to the third lecture in the series of transgenic plants. In this, I will be explaining the applications of transgenic plants and we will also have an insight into the concerns regarding cultivation of genetically modified crops. The foremost application of transgenic technology in plants is the development of insect-resistant crop plants. The most familiar example for insect-resistant plants is plants using the Bt gene. Bt, that stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. This is a bacterium which produces a delta endotoxin during the sporulation process. The delta endotoxin is an insecticidal protein present as crystals. These crystalline proteins are encoded by cry genes in the plasmids of this Bacillus thuringiensis. When an insect ingests these crystalline proteins, the crystals are solubilized due to the alkaline pH in the insect midgut, that is the larval midgut. Upon solubilization, they become amenable to activity by intestinal proteases. These proteases cleave the insecticidal protein to its active form. The active or the toxic peptide then binds to the specific receptors in the microvilli of the midgut cells and leads to formation of pores. This pore formation in the plasma membrane causes cell lysis and death of the insect. This is how the Bt protein has its insecticidal activity. Conventionally, the Bt proteins were isolated from the bacterial cultures and were being used to spray on the crop plants. But this is a heat labile protein which degrades very soon in natural environments. Later, scientists started using this gene to engineer resistance into the crop plants themselves. The advantage here is that the protoxins are large and non-insecticidal and only the toxic peptides are insecticidal. Conversion of the protoxin into the toxic fragment does not occur in the guts of mammals and humans. It attacks only in the target species of insect pests. Using this advantage, scientists isolated the genes coding for the crystalline proteins and introduced them into crop plants by plant genetic engineering methods. The first cultivated food crop carrying the cry toxin was potato plants expressing cry 3A toxin. This was way back in 1995. The cry proteins are present in a large variety and they offer a vast base for engineering resistance into different crop plants. The cry toxins are species and order specific in their toxicity. For example, the lepidopterans are targeted by the cry1 and cry2 series of crystalline proteins. Other insecticidal genes that can be used to engineer resistance into crop plants include the cowpea trypsin inhibitor and genes that code for plant lectins. The next important application of transgenic technology in plants is development of disease-resistant crops. Diseases in plants are caused by fungi, bacteria as well as viruses. There are two modes by which we can introduce disease resistance in crop plants. The first one is PR protein mediated resistance in case of fungal diseases and bacterial diseases, and in case of viral diseases the resistance is mediated by coat proteins. First, let us see what is pathogenesis related protein resistance. Pathogenesis related proteins or PR proteins are produced in the plants under attack by pathogens like fungi and bacteria. These are a part of systemic acquired resistance. They are something like the antibodies that are produced in human beings when infected by a pathogen. Some of these PR proteins are antimicrobial, attacking the cell wall of the bacterium or the fungus. For example, they may be enzymes like chitinases and glucanases. Remember, chitin and glucan are the most important components of the fungal cell wall. So, the presence of these enzymes degrades the fungal cell wall and prevents the growth of the mycelium. Some of the PR proteins can be proteinase inhibitors. Some of them are having activity like peroxidases and ribonucleases. Other specific PR proteins like thaumatin and defensin are also known. So the genes coding for these PR proteins are isolated and used to engineer resistance to diseases in cultivated plants. For example, transgenic tobacco plants expressing a bean chitinase gene were found to be resistant to the fungi Rhizoctonia solani. Similarly, transgenic rice varieties encoding the chitinase PR3 gene were produced. Let us have a look at what is coat protein mediated resistance. Coat protein mediated resistance is the resistance of transgenic plants towards viral diseases. It is based on the observation that plants already infected with one strain of a virus are resistant to infection by a second closely related virus. So, CPMR relies on the fact that if faulty signals are yielded, it will disrupt the normal replication and infection of the new viral parasite or pathogen. So, the genes coding for this coat protein mediated resistance are isolated and introduced into crop plants. So, when a plant is already expressing a gene for the viral coat protein and a peptide belonging to the viral coat is being produced in a plant, the virus gets a faulty signal and this prevents the viral disease in the host plant. Now, this relation has been demonstrated for a variety of virus host combinations including tobacco and the tobacco mosaic virus, papaya towards the papaya ring spot virus, the potato virus Y and the zucchini yellow mosaic virus. Even though developing virus resistant varieties through traditional methods of breeding is available, it takes a long period and in some cases it may not even be possible. Hence, scientists started using genetic engineering to induce the CPMR into transgenic plants. The coat protein mediated resistant varieties of plants are one of the widely cultivated GMOs. Another next important application of transgenic technology is post-harvest protection. As we all know, agricultural produce has limited shelf life. In fact, fruits have a shelf life of hardly a few days to weeks. So, with the intention of increasing the shelf life, that is, to make them stay properly for a longer time, transgenic technology was used. So, if the produce can stay for longer, it is economically benefit to the farmer. The first genetically engineered whole food that gained approval was the flavor saver tomato, which had an enhanced shelf life. The production of this tomato was based on using antisense RNA technology. The endogenous gene polygalactourinase was responsible in fruit ripening because it codes for an enzyme which can dissolve the cell wall pectin, leading to softening of the fruit. So, if the production of this enzyme can be minimized, it automatically will increase the ripening period of the fruit. Thereby, the fruit can remain firm and stay longer during transport also. So, during 1987, researchers from the Calgene company produced tomato plants transformed with an antisense expression cassette of the polygalactourinase gene construct. Here we can see how the antisense RNA technology was used to produce the flavor saver tomato. Normal tomatoes produce only the sense mRNA for the gene polygalactourinase, which undergoes translation into the enzyme, leading to a normal tomato which has an ordinary ripening period. In the transgenic tomato, both the sense mRNA and antisense mRNA are produced in the cell for the same gene, that is polygalactourinase. So, this antisense mRNA strand was engineered into this transgenic tomato variety. So, when the sense strand and antisense mRNA for the same gene are produced in a cell, they undergo heteroduplexing due to complementary nature. Now, a duplex mRNA can never be translated into its corresponding protein product. Therefore, in the transgenic tomato cells, the enzyme polygalactoironase is produced in minimal quantities, and hence the activity of this enzyme is very less, due to which the fruits stay firm for a longer period without ripening. Though this was brought into commercial market, it was later withdrawn due to economical and legal reasons. Another step towards using transgenic technology for benefit of human beings was nutritional enhancement in croplands. We all are dependent on plant products for our nutrition, but we know that all nutrients required for survival are not provided by the same food crop. We need a variety of food crops for our daily requirement of nutrients. So each plant provides certain nutrients and lacks several other nutrients. So golden rice is a variety of rice that was genetically engineered to produce the precursor for vitamin A. This was produced with the intention of acting as a fortified food to be grown and consumed in areas with a shortage of dietary vitamin A. The deficiency of dietary vitamin A was the reason for a large number of, in fact thousands of cases of irreversible childhood blindness as well as mortality in several poor nations across the globe. So with the intention of using this as a less expensive alternative to vitamin supplements, the golden rice project was taken up. The golden rice variety was synthesized by addition of a whole biosynthetic pathway into the rice variety using 3 genes. The phytoin synthase and lycopene cyclase were sourced from daffodil plant, and the gene for phytoin desaturase was sourced from the soil bacterium Erwinia iridivora. These 3 are the enzymes that convert geranyl diphosphate into alpha carotene and beta carotene through the biosynthetic pathway depicted here. These are placed under endosperm specific promoters so that they are expressed only in the endosperm of the transgenic rice variety. The accumulation of beta carotene in the seeds of this rice variety gives a characteristic yellow color, and hence the name golden rice. The beta carotene, which is a precursor for vitamin A, is later converted into vitamin A in the animal or human gut. This is how the golden rice variety has been developed. Another widely useful variety of advantage of plant genetic engineering is called as molecular farming. This involves the production of proteins and other metabolites useful in the medicine or industry in agriculturally cultivated crops. We all are familiar with production of animal proteins in microbial cultures or production of certain medicinally important proteins in animal cell cultures. But plant-based systems are much less expensive than the mammalian cells but have a similar secretory pathway, and also plant cells are more suitable because they allow proper folding and assembly of these eukaryotic proteins. They also facilitate post-translational modification including glycosylation and beta hydroxylation, which are not possible in case of a microbial culture system. And the culture of production of medicinally important proteins is called as molecular farming. Here is a list of industrially important proteins that have been commercially produced and used since a long time. The list is a large list. Here I have mentioned the important products. It is trypsin, which can be used as research reagent and in preparation of cosmetics. Then alpha amylase, phytase. Phytase is used in feedstock modification. Then growth factors are produced for applications in tissue culture sector. Then there are albumin, lactoferrin and lysozyme that are produced for use as research reagents. The production of pharmaceutically important proteins using the same technology is also termed as molecular farming or biofarming. Biopharmaceuticals are drugs that are produced in living systems and used as therapeutic or dietary supplements in case of humans and other mammals. These could be proteins, enzymes, antibodies, substances like interferons, and so on. The advantage here is that there is a large reduction in the cost of production, purification, storage, as well as administration. Several plant tissues and cultures have been used to produce these biopharmaceuticals. They are also called as PDPs, that is pharmaceutical. They are also called as PDPs, that is plant derived pharmaceuticals. Examples of plant tissues that have been used are tobacco, leafy crops like lettuce and alfalfa, potato, tomato, even algae like chlamydomonas and weeds like lemna have been used as alternative production hosts for these plant derived pharmaceuticals. I have mentioned here a few examples of these plant derived pharmaceuticals. Antibodies are produced using plants for treating cancers like Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Then antibodies for treating dental caries also have been produced. Vaccines against the enterococcal diarrhea, therapeutic enzymes like gastric lipase to treat cystic fibrosis. Then the hepatitis B vaccine is being produced using transgenic potato and lettuce. Human intrinsic factor to be used as a dietary supplement in case of B12 deficiency is being produced using transgenic Arabidopsis. Moving on to the next application of transgenic technology in plants is herbicide tolerance. Weeds are one of the farmers' greatest challenges. To control weed growth is very difficult. Traditionally, it is done by methods like manual weeding and tilling. Later on, farmers started using herbicides to eliminate weeds. Herbicides are chemicals that are sprayed to eliminate weeds. Some of the crop plants have an inherent ability to tolerate the herbicide activity. Herbicides generally target key enzymes in the plant metabolic pathway which disrupt plant food production and eventually kill it. So herbicide tolerance is a plant's ability to withstand a particular chemical herbicide. Most plants are naturally tolerant to selective herbicides and some may have acquired it through selection or mutation. This property of natural resistance was exploited by researchers and the genes responsible for this natural resistance were engineered into agricultural crop varieties. Benefits of using herbicide tolerant crop plants include reduction in soil erosion and decreased use of chemical herbicides. The first herbicide tolerant plant that was developed was glyphosate resistant plants. These plants were called as glyphosate ready or Roundup ready. Roundup is the commercial name of glyphosate. It is a broad spectrum herbicide. It blocks the EPSPS enzyme, that is the enol pyruvyl shikimate phosphate synthase enzyme, which is an important part of the shikimate pathway in plants. The shikimate pathway is the biosynthetic pathway of aromatic amino acids, vitamins and many other plant secondary metabolites. So glyphosate blocks this enzyme and thereby kills the plants. Plant EPSPS enzyme is susceptible to glyphosate, whereas the bacterial EPSPS is tolerant to glyphosate. So this bacterial EPSPS gene was isolated and introduced into the crop plants. So a crop plant carrying the bacterial EPSPS will be tolerant to glyphosate, whereas weeds growing along with the same crop plant but lacking in the bacterial EPSPS will be eliminated by the spraying of glyphosate. Other examples of herbicide tolerant plants were developed towards 2,4-D, glufosinate and phosphinothrycin. So these are the major applications of transgenic technology in plants. Let us see what are the concerns regarding cultivation of genetically modified plants. The foremost concern is lack of biosafety legislation for GMOs. Then there is a threat that the transgenes can be transferred to weeds and related crops through pollination, leading to unwanted transgenic characters in other plants. The potential effect of the transgenic proteins on human and animal health in the long run are not yet known and cannot be predicted. There are concerns over subjecting the crop plants to intellectual property rights, and this may lead to seed companies monopolizing the agricultural sector, adversely affecting the interests of the farmers. Now, in case of food crops being used for production of drugs, accidentally if the PDPs enter the food chain and are consumed by non-target organisms, there could be unwanted results. In case of herbicide tolerant plants, there is a threat of development of super weeds. By breeding of the herbicide tolerant plants with other related plants, super weeds may come into existence. Then herbicide tolerant plants lead to increased use of chemical herbicides, and this may lead to increased environmental pollution and also decline in the pollinator habitat. Loss of biodiversity is one major doubt regarding the cultivation of genetically modified plants, because farmers would be again and again cultivating the same crops carrying advantages. Other plants and species may lose agricultural support. This may also lead to loss of native breeds and varieties. So these are all the important concerns regarding cultivation of genetically modified plants. Thank you. I wish you happy learning.